Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Nondumiso Njangase. For those of you who are new to the channel, please subscribe and also hit the notification bell so that you get notified when there is new content out. Please note that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. Should you require financial advice, please consult with a person who is registered at the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, right? So today's video is about the things that you need to think about when a person asks you to get a loan in your name on their behalf, right? So the arrangement is that you actually get the loan in your name. So legally, you are the one who's liable for this loan. The bank knows you as the debtor, but then they receive the money and then they pay you. They give you the repayments and then you give them to the bank, right? So that's what I want to discuss, just the things that you need to think about before you get into that arrangement, right? Because it does happen quite a bit. I think it happens in romantic relationships, family, and also just friends, right? You find people who are just like, okay, maybe I want to start a business. I think, I've read about a lot of boyfriends, girlfriends who are like, bae, I want to start a business and I need money. So can you please give me money? Or maybe my business is about to go under. Can you please lend me the money? Go and get a loan so that I can, get the business running properly, right? Or you find scenarios where a person is already in debt. So they have an arrangement with the bank already to say they're supposed to repay a certain amount a month, but and then they come to you and say, please go get a loan so I can pay off this loan and then I'll pay you on a monthly basis, right? Number one, the thing that has to come to your mind, especially in that type of scenario, is you made a promise to the bank, right, to repay them. You have not been able to, do what you said you were going to do. But now you're saying, well, let me make this promise to you, right? But I will do it because now it's you, right? So I just always think about that when something like that happens, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that this person is not going to be able to repay it. I mean, there are scenarios where people are able to keep their promises. But today, I'm just going to be focusing on those people who can't, especially when you don't have like a proper money relationship with this person, right? Usually, people, because we are adults, right? People are supposed to be responsible for their own finances. If they're in financial trouble, they need to sort out their finances, right? You can ask family to help you out, friends, whatever the case may be, but ultimately you are responsible for your own financial decisions. So you go to the bank and you say, okay, no, and the bank is like, no, you are not eligible to actually get this credit. So usually people who come to you are people who the bank considers as not being able to afford the loan because they are a risk. So maybe it could be that they don't have any proper formal employment, or they have a bad credit history, or they don't have collateral. So they don't have anything they can show to the bank to say, should something happen, this is, what you can take, instead of me now having to repay, right? So what you have to consider is that banks are experts at lending money, right? So they consider all these things because at the end of the day, for them, it's business. They don't attach any emotions when they are making decisions, right? They just see what's okay. From what I can see on paper, this person is a high risk. So there's a high possibility that they might not be able to repay this money. So when a person like this that comes to you, you also need to bear that in mind to say, people who are experts have deemed you a person who is unable to, or a person who is a very high risk. So you're essentially taking on a very high risk, right? So you need to actually consider that and say, actually, and make sure that then you put measures in place should something happen, right? And what you also need to think about is that obviously, legally, when you are signing, for that loan, you put your name there. The bank doesn't know this person, which means that should this person not be able to repay the loan, and now maybe you're unable to pay it, you are the one who gets into trouble. So legally, you are responsible for that debt. You can't go and explain to the bank to say, no, but ngangithathele umamncane. No, the bank doesn't care about that. The bank sees your name. Right. So, and I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. A person, I mean, it's unfortunate, but people die. So you need to consider that if this person dies, am I able to actually take that? Have you considered that this person might die? Then what happens? And they've kept the money, and then you are now left with this debt that you have to service, right? And obviously, most of the time, people in that situation, maybe they don't even have an estate, a proper estate. So even if maybe you had a contractual arrangement, if they really don't have anything in their estate, they won't be able to repay you, right? So you have to keep that in mind. Other things, I mean, that could happen is incapacity. Umuntu gets disabled, or whatever the case may be. Something can happen that actually hinders this person from repaying you. The business might not take off, and then you are left with this debt that you have to now service, right? And if it's a romantic relationship, if gumjolo, uyaphela gumjolo, most of the time. Uyaphela, and masuphelile, most of the time people don't want to pay because or maybe this person was just in it for the money and you've given him what he wanted and he's gone, or she. So please just also note that, especially in romantic relationships, when you are in a bubble, when you're in love, you think nothing will ever go wrong. You could give this person anything, right? Even a loan in your name, because you honestly think nothing will go wrong. But realistically, not what we're saying this person is a bad person, but realistically, things happen. He might die, he might not be able to sustain that business, or he might just leave you for a younger version of you. I'm saying he because I'm a woman, right? So it could be the other way around as well. Women also do these things to men. Anyway, so you need to consider that the fact that legally you are liable for this debt, and should something happen, you will be liable, right? So what I want you to bear in mind when you are actually making this decision is that, number one, this thing affects your credit, right? So you could find yourself, maybe, let's say you earn 10,000 rands, right? And I'm going to use boyfriend. Your boyfriend says no, he needs 50K to actually pay his school fees, or he needs 50K to start a business or to pay off his debt, because if angakhokhi, right, then you must take on the debt, right? And uhola 10,000 rands, and maybe the bank does give you a loan, and maybe you have to repay, let's say you have to repay like 3,000 rands a month, right? And let's say best case scenario, he does pay every month. He does pay. You have to with 2,000 rand every month, but now you want to get your own car. And a bank now looks at your pay slip, uholu 10,000, unelonia 3,000, usala no 7,000, urenta no 5,000. You have groceries, you have all these things. In fact, you are in the red because of this loan. And then the bank says, no, you can't afford it. So you can now access credit for yourself because you've taken credit for somebody else. So you need to bear that in mind, to say it might affect you should you actually also want to do your own things. So saying no in an instance where you see what's actually nami in the near future, it's perfectly fine to say no, because nami, I have my own credit needs that I'm gonna have to meet in the near future, and this might hinder that, right? And obviously, people don't like people who say no to them. And if you say no and the person is mad at you, they're no longer talking to you because you said no, then you were never supposed to lend that money to begin with, because we are the character yake. I mean, it's not nice when you ask a loved one for money and then they say no, right? But they have their reasons. They have their personal reasons because they know their finances. And if you're no longer talking to them, then it means when you are saying no, my needs are greater than yours, so prefer my needs over yours. And that's very, very selfish. So if ungasakhulunyiswa because of that, just know ukuthi you made the right decision, right? A question that I want you to ask yourself when you are actually asked to go and take a loan is, from my credit record perspective and, from affordability, am I able to afford this loan on my own? Because legally, you are on your own. You are taking a loan and you have to repay 5,000 rands. Are you able from your salary to take 5,000 rands and pay? Right? And if the answer is no, then that's your answer, because anything might happen that hinders this person from paying, and then you have to pay. Then that means you've created a problem for yourself by trying to save somebody else. And it's okay to actually say no when you're also trying to save yourself. But if you say, oh no, I can't actually afford it, I would be able to afford it on my own, even if this person is unable to pay, then it's okay. But if the answer is yes, I can afford it, and maybe it's an instance where it's a romantic relationship, then also ask yourself, am I actually happy to continue paying for this loan or 5,000 rands towards his GTI? You have to ask yourself that. But then the thing is, when you are in a relationship with someone and you're in love, it's very difficult for you to actually think in that manner. So just write a questionnaire for yourself to say, can I afford it? If the answer is no, just say, baby, I can't afford it. And if the answer is yes, then in future, but if you're no longer around, I can't, just say, you know what, it's I can't do it. And wako doesn't even have to come with an explanation. It doesn't have to come with an explanation. You can just say no, because you have your own reasons, right? And you have to make sure that when you're making such decisions, you remove emotions, right? And it's very difficult to remove emotions from decisions. That's why, especially when you love someone, that's why you have to rely on things like, let me ask myself this question. And if the answer is no on this question, then the answer is no to this person, because then that question, like the question, can you afford it? Akunama emotion, lapho phakathi. And if the answer is no, then you have to go tell the person no, So I think consider such things before you actually go and take a loan, because essentially then you are transferring inkinga yomuntu anayo njengamanje to your future self, right? Should they not be able to repay it, that's the issue. You've transferred the problem that they have to yourself, right? And another consideration is I sort of sent out questions on my social media asking about, this question, would say, have you been asked, and what happened? One of my friends said, yes, I was asked, and the person did repay it, but actually it was very difficult, because I used to always think on payday, is she going to be able to pay it? Is she going to be able to pay it? So also it just gives you some stress. There could be added stress that comes with you borrowing someone money, even if they can repay it, right? So if you don't need all of that, then the answer might just be no, and it's okay. And what I've learned in life, especially 2014, when I suffered financially, like seriously suffered, is that people will always come up with plan B. You are not everybody's plan A, right? So if a person comes to you and asks for help and you can't, they will find a plan B. So just make sure that you remove my emotions, and just understand that people are smart. They will find another solution. So your no doesn't mean that it's over for them. They will find another solution for themselves. And I mean, when you say no, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to help you. You can try and help this person by finding other means for them to get this money. If it's a business, you can, help them find sponsors. You can help them in any other way, but not necessarily you taking the problem that they have and transferring it to yourself. I feel like I have lectured you quite a bit, and you might be thinking, no, especially the ones who want to go and borrow the money. No, but I'm not like that. I will repay it. But then you need to also consider the person that you are lending from, or the person that you are asking to take on this responsibility, because it's very difficult for them as well. As much as they love you, when they say no, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It's because really, they have to look out for themselves and prevent having the problems that you have now for themselves in future. we've come to the end of the video, and I hope you've taken something from it. And yeah, please leave your comments about your experiences. I'm sure some of you have had good experiences, but from the questions I asked on social media, people had very horrid experiences. And for those who do repay this debt, good. And for those who make these decisions and they turn out positively, good. But for those of you who are scared and thinking, hey, I don't trust this person, then say no. They leave you, it's okay. So yeah, have a good day, and I'll see you on my next one.